Children.
Hit me! Let's put a smile on that face.
Alice has returned to Wonderland.
Since you've been gone, the Red Queen has taken over all of Wonderland. Help us make the world right again.
I need a pig here. I love a warm pig belly for my aching feet. Stop that. We have our champion.
Hold tightly.
This is impossible.
And if you believe it is.
Thanks for tuning in and welcome to this week's movie review of Alice in Wonderland, starring Johnny Depp and Helen Carter. Tim Burton has been able to do some impressive things in the past. He brought Pee Wee Herman to the big screen, gave Batman screen life with respect, turned The Legend of Sleepy Hollow into a movie, and paid the grandest respect to the worst filmmaker in history with Ed Wood. And he even made me sit through a musical with Sweeney Todd, and I hate musicals. So to say the least, when he's given something, he turns it into a great dark time, and his remake and sequel to Alice in Wonderland is no exception to this rule. Now, the most interesting aspect of this movie is that it's not truly a remake of Alice in Wonderland. Instead, it follows the story of the second book with elements of the first film, including flashbacks of the events from the original film. So it's a case of the best of both worlds for fans of the story. I myself never did like the original version of this film, as I've never been a big fan of Disney's butchered versions of dark fairy tales and stories. But this one clicked with me, because Burton didn't hold back or try to mask it. He spun it to fit his style and followed the book, which is a big reason why I enjoyed the film. The film basically chronicles Alice's return to Wonderland and her journey to become a better and stronger person by tapping into the lost sense of courage and curiosity she had during her first trip down the rabbit hole. This, of course, is the basic underlying theme of all Tim Burton films: a weirdo or an outcast trying to find their place in the world by being themselves and embracing what makes them special in a crowd of opposition. It may seem a bit stale at this point, since it's a present theme in all of his films, but Burton manages to reinvent this with each film, giving it a different spin to it, so it's somewhat a fresh take on an old concept. Visually, the film is one of the most beautiful looking flicks you will see this year. Underworld looks lush and is done with Burton's touch of dark creativity and humor. It is truly a treat watching Alice just roam around the world, but it's not all good. Like nearly every 3D film, this one fails to do anything past being lame and gimmicky. Things cheaply fly out at you, and the film was post-conversion, so it wasn't even filmed in 3D. Pit it like this: if you've seen one 3D film, then you've seen every 3D film, and this flick is no exception to the rule. Performances are all around strong. Johnny Depp is, of course, strong in his role, as he usually is the best aspect of any film that he's in. Supporting cast members also give solid performances, but the true master of this film is Helen Carter. As the Red Queen, she downright stole the show with a fantastic performance. She was brooding, yet comical at the same time, and emoted a wide range of emotions with her facial expressions alone, which is probably one of the reasons they gave her character such a big head, as to focus on her emoting among other reasons. Dialogue is fairly solid for the most part, but falls dry at times, and brings the pacing of the film down a bit, as it does have its slow parts. I caught myself almost drifting off at the tea time scene, and noticed people getting a bit bored and kids losing complete interest in the film. There are also minor plot holes in the film. For example, Alice needs to acquire a sword for the Queen, the White Queen to be specific, so she spends a good deal of the film traversing the land to get it. But she also needs the armor that goes with the sword, which the White Queen has. So she travels back, only to have to travel back with both items for the climax of the film. Why didn't the Queen just give her the armor and explain the situation in detail as to save time? I mean, I know that this was all done for the sake of adding more time to the film, you know, killing some time adding filler, but it's a bit silly when minor thought is put into it and you can see how silly it is. The climax of the film was also a great epic and witty battle, using the themes of chess and checkers, perfectly bringing the vision of the second book to life. But the end of the battle completely kills everything. After all the death and carnage, the Mad Hatter just breaks out and starts dancing, doing moves you would see in a Step Up film. Now, some would argue that while being completely out there and random, it was okay because he was the Mad Hatter and he is crazy. Alright, that would make sense if it wasn't for the dance and the music used. Why was he using modern dance moves played to music from a few years ago? This film took place in the 18th century, so there's no reason why the Mad Hatter should be shucking and jiving as if he was in a Run DMC music video. Unless Jam Master Jay traveled back in time in the film with his crew, there should be no excuse for such a ridiculous scene. But aside from that, it's a solid film and a good time at the movies. Alice in Wonderland gets an 8.5 out of 10.
Do not